Oh man, are we live? Hey,
Oh shoot.
shout out in the chat. Shout out in the chat if we're live right now. Let us know
F's in
that
the
you guys
chat.
are. Press
F's,
F.
F's in
Press
the
F to
chat.
pay respect. Let's see here. My stream is not showing anything.
Uh-oh. What do you mean? Like your other device?
Oh yeah, it's just still on our faces. Vivian was just literally saying, she was like, you couldn't have picked a better thumbnail where Danny is just so much taller than you are.
Just Photoshop it. Just even it out.
I gotta use like some sort of like, what is it, skew, warp, whatever. Okay, we are live.
Have ever seen those like Photoshop requests where they say, "Can you move my hand closer so it's underneath the mountain?" And then they just like dislocate their whole arm.
I love those. Those are so funny. Those are hilarious. So we already have 2 thumbs down, Danny. 2 thumbs down.
That's about right.
It only works if one person two thumbs down. You know what I'm saying? Hello, how's it going? I'm the Brown says we're live. Thank you, I'm the Brown. Thank you for tuning into the last show of Monday Live. George Daniel says hello, guys. Quippy's channel. Hello, Richard Snight. Hello, family of tech. What's going on? Jess Rivera is back for unfortunately the last show. Oh, this is embarrassing. Family of tech, last Monday Live, and I'm here to witness it. Chris Imamura's in the house. Hello.
What's up?
Abdul, what's going on? Pablo says, hey. Very nice. Very nice. All right, guys. So we're currently in pre-show mode. Our official show starts at 7 p.m. We do have an announcement to make, so hang on tight. We're going to be breaking quite a bit of hearts tonight, but there's some interesting prospect for us in the future, so we want to definitely discuss it with you guys.
That sounded so cryptic, man. Like you just,
I'm saying like, there's an interesting prospect in the future. That's not cryptic. That's like optimistic and hopeful.
I hope so.
Yeah, I'm okay. Well, we don't know. We don't know.
We don't know. We're just gonna talk about the situation, and then we'll get their feedback and vibe a little bit later. So that's just what we're gonna do.
For sure. If anyone wants to chime in with some hashtag new gear, hashtag quarantine gear, cue it up right now. We're also,
hashtag last gear.
Hashtag last gear for what you're using.
Just tell us what you're gonna buy next Saturday. Just say you're gonna pick up an A7 S3 next month. That kind of thing.
Just cue it up. Just cue it up. I mean, we're gonna be reading all the hashtag new gear right now.
Cue up for the future purchases.
Let's see. What's going on, Jake? Jake Sloan's in the house. Ronnie says, what's up, my boy? Fan from the Philippines. Thank you for watching. Juan Sanchez, Jason is live, here for the last live. I'm surprised you're here for the last live, but none of the 6 other shows that we've done in the past week.
You start seeing everyone's like, oh, it's my first live I've ever been to. It's the first live I've ever joined. Well, there you go. All right. We're seeing some messages now.
Let's read it out, Danny. It's too small on my screen.
Mal Rodriguez, hashtag new gear. Mavic Air 2 arrives tomorrow.
Very nice.
That's great.
I'm glad you have the drone to keep you preoccupied for Monday nights.
Cashua714, hashtag selling all my gear. There we go. That's hopefully for not terrible reasons. Just prefacing that.
Yeah. Dylan Callaway says, just bought the A7 III and now watch your A7 III videos all the time. Well, thank you. Thank you so much. Appreciate that.
There you go.
Tyler Hart just snagged the 8518 and picking up a DJI Osmo Action. Very nice.
That's the wannabe GoPro one, right? Like the alternate to that one, right?
Yeah, it's pretty much.
Missy Lyons, new gear, Sony A7 III, Sony 16 to 35 f2.8 G Master, Manfrotto 055 tripod, and just got it all last week. Nice.
Fun stuff. Very nice. I too am shooting with the 16 to 35 right now.
Oh, Mr. Fancy. All right.
Jake Salone, hashtag new gear, 70 to 180 with the Mavic Air 2. Hey, you got
Whoa,
your
whoa,
70 to
whoa.
180 in. That's
Are
nice.
those out? Those are out already?
Yeah, is that true? Have people been getting their 70 to 180 in? I want to.
OMG, get a haircut at La Hardy. I
want
wish.
to.
I'm just waiting for the phases to open up so that they can let the salon/barbers out so they can start doing their thing. But I don't want to go to an underground barber.
I've seen.
They're out there. You can go to the underground, someone's garage. There's places out there. You could go.
It's tempting. I know some people are operating their business like that, hush hush kind of thing. But yeah, I seen people cut their own hair on Instagram stories, and I'm just like, I would never trust myself with like scissors, and I would just mess it up. Jim Penn, Jason Vong and Danny, greetings from Minnesota. I think this last live should show Vivian with a few focus test dance moves. Just come on in, Vivian. Whenever you want to start dancing.
And then Jim Penn's new gear, Drawcast Bolt Ray LED 600 plus bicolor LED light. The wife let me live another day.
Glad she lets you live to watch the last Monday live. That's the most important thing.
Jason, what are you drinking there? You got coffee as well? Or what are you doing? Tea or what is it?
Okay, yeah. Well, it's just water for me. It's hard to
see.
You're
just kind of like, okay, you're fancy.
Yeah, just fancy. Just a little bit of water, a little bit of vodka, some scotch, mixed in on the rocks.
I'm just on cup number 3 coffee for the day. And
you're staying up, aren't you? I know I asked you.
I'm not.
I completely forgot what you said.
No, I just. Whoa, what's up?
Oh no, I was just gonna say caffeine doesn't really work on you, right? Like I don't know. I mean,
what it does is like, so for example, before the show started, I was feeling a little out, like in terms of energy, in terms of that spike. I was kind of like
checked out already. He's checked out on Monday Live. He's ready to leave.
I was just like, man, I'm not in the right psyche right now, and I just need something to get me focusing. And coffee does help with that. I'm pretty sure anything else like tea would probably work the same way. It's just something you're drinking to just kind of get you to focus more. And that coffee just kind of got me into that little bit of the edge I need just to get through the show, and we'll have a good time.
No more bang, huh?
Yeah, not for a while. It's been a while on that.
Yeah. We haven't drank bang in a while, guys. Surprisingly.
Yes. Actually, probably the show, like 2 shows in, I had an energy drink. So I was using an energy drink. I was mixing it with some water.
It's quite not the same, because I've tried. I got a case of Red Bull that I just got tired of after 2 cans. I was just like, man, this leaves like a nasty aftertaste. That's what makes it difficult for you to drink, man. If it tasted great, it'd be so easy to consume all of it so quickly, Well, at least with Bang there was some favorable flavors, and well, anyways, it just got so bad, Jason. I liked how it was our ongoing joke for a while. It's like, oh, get sponsored by Bang. And I was like, some while ago. All right, it's still up in the offer. Well, if they want to save the Monday Live show, please sponsor us, Bang. Bryant Mercedes, new gear, got the A7 III 2 months ago and waiting for the 85 FE to come in. Very nice. Everyone picking up that 85 or that Viltrox. Who knows? Oh, okay. Monzi switching from Nikon to Sony A9 II gets here on Friday. Very nice. Monzi, you didn't want to get that Nikon D6? I'm here. They're going to start shipping that out. Nikon D6, yeah, that one. Oh my God. There's a Nikon D6, a Canon R6. Is there going to be a Sony A6? Oh, I don't know anything about that. You heard it here first, folks. That was some breaking news. Yeah, heard it here first. That's why it's our last show. But anyway, going on. Let me just about to tank my own career here. The Sony A6 is anyways, Squeezy Bits, new gear, switch to the EOS R, but still love watching you guys make content. Hey, appreciate that. Thank you. Hey, man, you never all camps. Squeezy Bits, you never know, man. EOS R might be right up the alley next. Juan Sanchez.
New Gear Oculus Quest for Beat Saber. Only workout I'm getting for a while. Ooh, very nice. Is that the high end? Because I know there's like different options for that Oculus, I believe. So there's like a low end, mid range, and high end. I don't know if that's how that works out.
We got 2 minutes, guys. 2 minutes before we start the actual last Monday Live. So hang on tight. We're still going through some pre-show hashtag New Gear. So drop it in while you can, and we'll read them out loud. Aereo S, hashtag New Gear, 24 G Master. Very nice.
Oh, the lens I thought I was going to like, Jason, at 24. I didn't end up liking it that much. Just throwing that out there. Just going to add some salt to that wound.
Maybe the 20 is up your alley, that 21.8.
I would probably say 20 might be more my in terms of interest over the 24 personally.
I think that so. I've actually been using the 20 a little bit more, and I growing quite fond of it. The close focusing on that is just beautiful, perfect. Doesn't distort as much too. It's a really nice lens, that f1.8. Troy S, hashtag New Gear, the Sigma 35 f1.4.
There was a nice sale on that a few days ago, or they dropped to like $499, I think. New, it could have been like $499 or something like that. They dropped the price for sure. Well, so
very cool.
It's an old lens though. I mean, that lens has been out for a while. Just the, that design itself has been out for some time. It's a nice lens.
Monzi says, sold my Nikon 600. I cried. That's Danny in a few days.
That's me. 402.8, getting ready for that EOS R, right? That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, if Canon were to like come out with the R5 and the 600 or 400 actually, 400 2.8, you're gonna jump board. You're gonna jump ship right away, right?
Whoa, what?
Double deal, R5 and the 600 or the 400. Nah. I don't even know anymore. Whatever.
I mean, that'd just be being silly at that point. I would just add the EOS R. That's what I would do, and then choose whatever EF glass I had left. That's what I would do. So,
okay, awesome. Well, it is 7:00, guys. Welcome to the last Monday Live, and I know it sounds
Say it ain't so. Say it ain't so, Jason.
I know it sounds like we're continually joking, but this is kind of the last Monday Live. We have should we just jump right into it? Should we just start talking about it?
Yeah, what's funny? Here. What's funny is that I didn't even know this was going to happen. Until like
you're making it say like I'm the one who did this. I'm the one who started this. And it's like Danny.
It's crazy. I didn't expect this was going to happen until a few hours ago. And so behind the scenes, me and Jason, we've been really stepping it up. Okay, we've been meeting earlier, planning the shows. Making a little cheat sheet about what we're going to talk about today. And me and Jason start talking. We're just like, we're just chit-chatting behind the scenes. And we're just like, man, talking about what we should go in direction or something like that with the podcast. And all of a sudden said, what if we just stopped?
It's not completely stopping Monday Live. We want you guys to understand, like we've been kind of feeling a little bit of sort of like internal resistance when it comes to sort of the stuff we've been presenting on Monday Live. And I think, Danny, you kind of like released the video kind of talking about your whole sort of outlook and view when it comes to making content on YouTube, right?
Yeah. But I love Monday Live. He said, what are you talking about? It's
great. Thanks for making me look like a bad guy.
I was just kidding. No, it was more like, what is it? When you're trying to, I don't know. It's just trying to find this thing with this Monday Live. I mean, I enjoy the aspect of it and everything like that. But, Jason, help me out. What did we come to the conclusion? I'm trying to remember now. Like we just kind of, do we want to just tell them what the main focus is in the future and what the plan is at that point?
Yeah, so pretty much when it comes to Monday Live, we're just kind of like having to kind of go look at the news, kind of like have to prep for the show. But it's come to the point where we're just kind of like repeating ourselves a lot and just kind of talking within the whole camera sphere of things. And we have tried to kind of dabble within tech and stuff. But ultimately, we just feel like a lot of the resources that we're spending prepping for Monday Live I personally think that Danny and I have more of a potential to really take this sort of Monday Live podcast aspect into like a whole different direction. And I think there's a lot of conversations that me and Danny were having behind the scenes that were just like, man, this would make some really good podcast content. And not necessarily always about camera news or anything like that. Cause like, Danny and I, we have like other interests and, we vibe on a lot of things, but we were always like, we don't think that the folks on Monday Live would enjoy it too much, so we kind of like hold back a little bit, and always just been like camera news, and obviously with the whole slowing down because of COVID-19, camera news has just been like really slow, so we end up having to always talk about Canon R5, A7S III. And, we brought this up a few times throughout the course of Monday Live. It's just like, man, we've been talking about this A7S III for a while now. And we ourselves, we're kind of getting tired of just like repeating ourselves, saying the same information and just talking about other camera news that we may not necessarily have too much interest in, but because we're just like, well, we need some topics for tonight. So what can we do?
I think that's the big key point. It's like, it's become that forced kind of scenario where we're looking for some topics to talk about, even though it may not pique our interest too much. Like some topics do, but it can be challenging sometimes. And for a while, if you didn't remember, for those of you that have been following the podcast for a long time, a lot of it was just based on rumor discussion, right? We talk about a topic and so forth, and we just kind of ran on that. Obviously, we did have guests from time to time, which did spice things up here and there. So there's a lot of things that me and Jason have been thinking about behind the scenes a little bit in the direction that we're going for. And I don't think we're eliminating all lives in general. That didn't sound right, actually. That didn't sound right at all. I mean, not live shows. No, I didn't mean that. So I would imagine.
Go ahead.
I would imagine if there was some release or some event that was happening that Jason wasn't invited to, then we could probably do a live stream for and talk about it.
Way to throw me under the bus, but yeah, sure. Okay. From what I remember from the behind the scenes talk, we talked about something else. But no, we are definitely not completely eliminating Monday Lives. We just feel like what would be easier for everybody is like maybe we'll do Monday Live once a month. Just pretty much kind of let the camera news build up so that way there's more of a discussion, there's more of a bit of a fresher content. But at the same time, we're definitely not axing out weekly content on our end. We definitely want to start trying out maybe like an offline podcast of some sort. And if anyone's interested, we're going to make that available on for sure, the Monday Live channel that we started, we're going to continue uploading to there, but we're going to try different content. We don't know exactly what that looks like, but whatever that outcome may be, that you'll see in some form or another, either on my YouTube channel or on the Monday Live YouTube channel. And I know someone was just mentioning that the other Monday Lives weren't viewable. They're actually being uploaded to a separate channel. So, there's other stuff that we, Danny and I would love to sort of make content of, which is like on podcast or video, and we want to do it without the constraints and worry of having to do it live, because it's a bit of a more stressful kind of thing when it comes to prepping for a live show, right, Danny?
It can, in terms of flow too, and just kind of getting the flow right about everything, and sort of being tempering kind of maybe what you're saying online as well. There could be some apprehension there too. So there's some cover. I mean, we're gonna try it. I mean, that's the whole thing, right, Jason? It's one of those things that we'll give it a shot, see how it goes. At this stage of the game, think about it like this: there was no Monday Live 6 weeks ago, I believe, right? Am I wrong on that? There was no Monday Live 6 weeks ago. Am I wrong? It's 6 weeks now, right? We've done 6 weeks.
It's wow, six Monday Lives. It's insane.
Right. 6 Monday Lives, right? And here we are, 6 Monday Lives, and we're announcing an end for now, I guess, in some ways, but it's not a complete end. It's just it's not a complete end at all. I think I'm hoping that we'll just give it a try, me and Jason, this other avenue, and see how it goes. There's some benefits too, actually, on my end as well. When I get back to a regular scheduled school work program, that I like going back to work and everything, that actually helps me out quite a bit in producing maybe an offline podcast from time to time, so it's not burdening me as much. That was another discussion point that me and Jason had about doing this whole segmented thing. Because at some point in time, and I talked about in my video, was the Monday lives were actually stressing me out quite a bit. It was very, very stressful. It seems like it really seems like we gave the impression it was just, we slapstick things together. And to some degree, we did do that for sometimes. I still remember the days where I would just barely get in on time. There's like 5 minutes left or something. I'm just trying to get everything ready. And it was stressful at those times. And I just felt the urge to continue it because, a lot of viewers loved the Monday Live. They wanted to be there, and it grew and it grew and it grew, which is great. But it was just causing a lot of additional stress that I didn't want to deal with, that we were dealing with. And then we had some conflicts with timing and everything like that. So I think the offline podcast concept actually makes a lot of sense in giving us some flexibility. You know what I mean, Jason? As we were talking about it. So I think it's helpful in that way.
So I'm seeing some comments already, and everyone's just like, well, is it truly the end? I mean, like in regards to a weekly live show, yes, this is the end of weekly live shows. Will we be doing live shows in the future? Absolutely.
Yes.
When there's time and place for it, we definitely want to do it live. But also at the same time, we're still going to be doing some sort of weekly content in a form of an offline podcast. As to what that is, we're still trying to figure it out. But again, a lot of the conversations that Danny and I sort of have on the side, it has been very interesting, at least to me. And we always feel like, well, if we're having fun with a certain topic or certain content that we're making, we should definitely pursue on that rather than try to force camera news on ourselves and force camera news on everyone. Like, I know a lot of us are like gearheads. We love talking about gear. But Danny already brought up, like, on his side of his channel, that it's just gotten pretty stressful, and just having to like worry about more camera releases was just not fun anymore. And I've myself have felt that to some degree, where it's just like, it's great to be talking about camera stuff, but it's just gotten so overwhelming that, we're seeking other things to like kind of like get away from the whole camera spectrum. And
I mean, I don't know if you talked about this with your viewers at some point, Jason, but it was like, I personally stopped watching anything camera related. Or to a very great degree, like it was very minimal that I would watch anything on YouTube with regards to camera stuff. I just started watching all tech related things, gaming related things, sports, basketball, things like that. I just turned off the whole camera stuff because I felt like at some point I kind of knew a lot about cameras already. And I'm like, I don't really want to watch any more things to do with cameras. It was really tough. And I don't know if that happened sort of for you, Jason, and when that sort of happened for you, like when was that turning point for you when that kind of happened? Or to some degree kind of toned it down?
It honestly got overwhelming last October. I mean, I was feeling a heavy burnout, and I made a video talking about photography depression, right? In a sense where it's just like, I try to make it relatable, but at the same time, I was kind of really feeling that burnout where it's just like, it's just too much. It's just getting too overwhelming to like have to constantly, see, sometimes it sucks, you're making the content and you look at your YouTube feed, you see like, unfortunately, competitors, right? And that sort of like brings you down. You're like, oh crap, wow, why didn't I make the video on that? Or like, it just sort of becomes a numbers game, and it starts being fun anymore. And it's just like, well, for me, I had to like unsubscribe to a lot of channels that are, remotely talking about the same thing as we do, just to like kind of get away and try to like not have to like think about that. That's not the best method of cold turkey of, axing out of the content. But for us, we've kind of talked about this in an offline thing where we're like, if you look at our subscription feed right now, it's just completely different content. I myself has just been like a lot of like video game contents. And I think Danny was sort of the same.
Yeah, it's it's just kind of that detoxing thing. Just kind of stepping away from all the cameras. Like we were doing our podcast, when we started getting the show back in order, I was like going through the sites and checking out, oh man, this camera came out, or this lens was being talked about. For example, we were going to talk about the Panasonic GH6 today. I didn't even know that thing was even around the corner, or there was rumors about it, or it was going to be announced at Photokina. And I mean, it's not as if I didn't care. It's just that it just wasn't on my radar. It wasn't really interesting me that much. But
Yeah.
So
I mean, again, it just goes back to that whole forcing the news kind of thing. Now, that's not to say we didn't care about some of the news that we presented. I think the Canon R5 was a phenomenal
oh yeah,
piece of announcement. That was something that literally, like, I hopped on with a pre-show with Danny. He was
yeah,
just like, did you see that? R5 was kind of exciting. That actually puts me back into
yeah.
like the interest of things. And I'm like, yeah, I can't say to say because I'm super biased. But no, I have to admit, that's definitely like a huge sort of talking point, and that's something that we're happy to freely discuss, and that's something that we will continue to discuss, but obviously more scaled back. So
Right.
yeah.
That EOS R5 definitely got me back. I'm not gonna lie. It's funny, like I make my video about saying, I'm out of it, I don't want to do this anymore, or what have you, and then Canon's EOS R5 specs get confirmed for the most part, and I'm like, wow, there's some more interest building. But at the end of the day, it's just one of those things where we're just kind of I'm speaking on my behalf. It's just like I'm just kind of trailing along on this camera journey and just seeing how things kind of pan out. But I'm not searching for it every day. It's not my main thing. Before, I used to be every day. I'd be searching websites every day, just checking how things are going with terms of camera news. But I just sort of stopped caring. It just wasn't my main thing. So.
Yeah. And then Photo Miak brought up a really good point right here. He's just like saying, well, okay, it's going to be an offline podcast. Can you guys still upload it to YouTube? Absolutely. And he's saying, I don't care what you talk about as long as it's entertaining. And that's sort of like our mentality going into this. It's just like, well, if we rather this be fun for ourselves first and foremost. And then that way you guys will be able to see and hopefully have fun listening and watching the content. And I think, like Danny said, there's a lot of positives to this. Not only is it going to free his stress, right? But also, I feel like we can actually focus on making higher quality content. We're not restricted to just doing this whole BeLive thing with 720p potato quality. Like, we can actually maybe potentially upgrade the production quality a little bit, but
Oh man, Jason, now we're putting too much work into this.
Forget what I said. Forget what I said. But we really want to have this discussion with you guys, just because you guys are the ones that are always coming back. I feel really blessed and happy that there's always consistently 100 people watching the live show, and we love hanging out with you guys. We love talking with you guys. So again, we're not axing out Monday Live entirely, but in terms of weekly, not so much. But hopefully maybe every 3 weeks we will do an offline thing, and then we'll do a Monday Live just to check in with everyone, just to maybe kind of discuss the content we've made and get some feedback, some live feedback, and all that stuff. This is all just planning, all talks, but
right.
And these are the sort of things that we talk about behind the scenes, right? And we want to share more of the behind the scenes with you guys, and as well as the conversations that we have. It should be fun.
Yes.
All right. Let me see here. Quippy's channel says, oh, wait, what did you want to say?
Oh no, that was just fine and dandy. So I don't know. The question is, so again, we won't know yet 100%. Jason and I will go over some of the scheduling or what we're going to plan on doing, but there'll hopefully be some positives out of it, and hopefully some of you will join us on the ride and see how it goes.
Yep, very cool. We're gonna read off a few comments because there was a few comments kind of chiming in about this. Guppy's channel, I think it's important to do what makes you guys feel forward instead of just churning out. It's a good idea to make it less than every Monday and let the content build up instead. Absolutely. And again, if you enjoy this talk that we're having, these types of conversations that we're having, there's going to be that, and we're not axing out all camera news.
For sure.
Alex Sandoval Live is being a little too hopeful here. 4K lives. I don't know if that's going to happen anytime soon.
We're struggling already.
Let's see. Per Anderson says, smash that like button. I appreciate that. Thank you. Sizzleman says, that's okay. Take that time off. We'll be okay with 10 shows a week from David Osa. Thank you, David, for saving us. Let's see. Oh, you want to get that on the screen, Danny?
George Daniels, you guys have a great community. Don't underestimate the impact you make. Thank you, George.
believe us, it makes us really happy. And me and Danny have been reminiscing on the good times that we've had. Just sort of like the meeting people at the live events, and we definitely missed that. And Danny definitely had fun. I'm sure.
Yes. Good times.
Devon Ron says, that's cool. I'm totally fine with not perpetuating the rumor mill. Yeah. It just sort of get old. I mean, we want to talk about, whatever piques our interests. Yeah, that's all I see. Anything else, Danny?
No, I think that's it for the time being. Unless you wanted to dive in more into our topics for today, or dive more into this category of things, or
I don't know. I mean, we still had a show. We still have some show notes. We'll run through the show notes. We'll do Q&As at the end. We'll make this announcement again really quickly at the end, just for anyone who's trickling in towards the end of the show. But yeah, awesome. The Brown says, best stress relief, watch Superbad. Okay. All right, Danny, let's just go ahead and jump into today's last set of news.
Okay, so we are taking a look at the Panasonic 41 megapixels video-centric Lumix GH6, which could be announced in August. So I was just mentioning this earlier, right? I was saying that I didn't even know this was a thing, Jason. Did you know it was a thing?
I think someone might have mentioned something in the comments last week, but we're just like, we didn't hear anything about this. But there's more. Well, actually, it's 8 days ago, so shame on us for not knowing about this.
Right. And I think the main point I want to just take out of this is that these are rumors still. There's nothing confirmed. Apparently, Panasonic was expected to announce the rumored GH6 at the now canceled Photokina 2020, but with the current pandemic, it's forced electronics giant to change its plans. According to fresh new rumors, the GH6 will reportedly be announced in August or September this year instead, with a potential shipping date set for early 2021. So what does make this exciting is that GH6 will, the rumor says that they'll potentially sport a high-resolution Sony Micro Four Thirds sensor boasting a pixel count of 41 megapixels, numbers that are currently unheard of in the Micro Four Thirds world. And there was one more peak of interest, is that they have a potential to be potentially having this installed in 3 varieties of cameras: a GH6, a GHV, and a GHX. And in terms of video capabilities, they're looking at raw capture for 4K and 6K, as well as the potential for 8K as well. So, Jason, we talked a little bit about the Panasonic camera and some of your experience with that camera some while ago, right? You said you had the Panasonic GH3 a long time ago?
I had the GH4. It was like my big boy upgrade. The GH4 was my big boy upgrade because I think at the time, and the reason why the GH series still fascinates us is because they're sort of like the first affordable 4K camera at the time, right? When the GH4 came out.
Yeah, they were the ones that really jumped on the plate with that, from what I remember, because I also picked up a GH4 as well, because at that time there was nothing else that had that 4K option. At a reasonable price. At that point, I think it was just the 1D Cinema at the moment, and that was just a pretty ridiculously priced camera at the time. So,
and just to give you guys a price reference, the Panasonic GH4 at the time was $2,000. I mean, it's still a hefty chunk of change, but if you're looking at the camera that Danny was saying, I believe you were saying it was like about $10,000.
Right. You know what's crazy? Right. The 1D Cinema came out at 12. It was like 12K when it came out. But what got me onto the GH4 in the first place. Before this, I was shooting Canon. That was all I was doing, right? Shooting Canon 1080p video. Gotta love it. And that really beautiful, mushy 1080p that Canon has. But someone at work, they had a GH4, and they let me just use it for like an hour. And I just shot some stuff really quick around the school or whatever. And then I pulled the files back up, but I was just like blown away by the amount of detail that 4K had over what Canon was delivering. And as soon as I saw that, I said, "Holy crap, man! I'm going to 4K." You know, it really stood out to me. You know what? Now that I remember this, Jason, I'm remembering now. I didn't get the GH4 first. I got the G7, I think.
Okay,
it was one of the lower end ones.
It still shot 4K though.
Yeah, I still shot 4K. I picked that up first, then I went to the GH4 after. So
Okay.
I'm recollecting what happened. But man, that 4K transition with the footage was just like wow. It was a big deal, especially. The funny thing is the GH3 people that shot with the GH2 already knew they were because their video quality was actually a lot better than Canon at the time. But man, it was a big deal. So this whole GH4 thing, but
Yeah. Go ahead.
But now with this whole GH6 thing coming around the corner, where do you personally see Panasonic now in terms of where everything's at this moment, especially with Sony, Canon, well, Nikon's also around the corner too.
Just kind of chiming in what you said, they definitely, I mean, okay, if we're talking about the filmmaking community, right, when it comes to, using mirrorless cameras, I think Panasonic has always been the powerhouse for this community. For us, it's a little bit different. We're hybrid shooters ourselves. We
Right.
value that photography capability. So what really drew me in at the time for the GH4 was definitely not only the 4K, but the fact that they have really super easy user interface. I mean, anyone can just literally pick up the camera and start using it. And what really fascinated me the most was, coming from a T3i with literally no connectivity to your smartphone or whatever, 720p 1080p quality. I'm having a 4K camera where I can just have it on my phone, tap on a screen, and just focus. And I was like blown
Right.
away. I was just like, this is great, and the quality looks great, the colors look great, everything about the camera was great for video. And after some time has passed by, I was just like, well, the photos don't look that great. They look kind of mushy to me. I was never a fan of the Micro Four Thirds for photography, so that's why I have the Canon still. So for all photos, I relegated to Canon. For all videos, I relegated to the Panasonic GH4. And I just needed a hybrid system. That's where sort of Sony came in, right?
Right.
Sony finally rolled out with A7S2, A7R2, 4K, full frame. The photos were absolutely fantastic with the full frame cameras. So I know it sort of kind of usurped that, little mirrorless spot that Panasonic has going on. So that doesn't mean Panasonic was out of the game. The GH5, they
Right.
hammered in strong again for the videography and the filmmaking crowd. GH5 is spectacular with its in-body image stabilization. It was still the Micro Four Thirds, and the autofocus, the tracking autofocus, wasn't that great still. But in terms of battery life and dual card slots with the GH5, it's still kind of outperform the current Sony cameras at the time, which was the R2 and the S2. So the landscape's changing again, and they went on obviously with a full frame. So I think people who wanted that full frame look will have a Panasonic camera to still fall back on, or if they still prefer the smaller form factor with no fan and anything like that, they now have this GH6 to sort of look forward to. And with that megapixel bump, I mean, I don't know. I personally will have to try it out myself, but I still rather prefer the full frame look. So the GH6 is sort of not on my radar as of now. S1H it's kind of on my radar, but not so much because it is a bigger camera. But for the most part, I'm probably going to be skipping out on the GH6.
You brought up a really good point that reminded me why exactly I left the Canon and Panasonic camp, because there was that weird intermediate, like you were mentioning, you had the T3i and the Panasonic GH4 kind of simultaneously. So I was in that particular weird element where I had Canon gear and Panasonic gear. I was using the Panasonic for video, the Canon for photos, and then it got really annoying having to use two completely separate systems in order to accomplish, that hybrid sort of nature of like shooting video and photo. And then I think when Sony kind of rolled around with that A6300, for me personally, I think that's when I started to see the potential of that Sony system to sort of replace both the Canon and also the Panasonic system that I was using at the time. So I don't know if that was the kind of the tipping point in terms of maybe I should look at Sony. And even at that time, Sony just wasn't all there yet personally, because of the stuff that I was shooting, like sports and things like that. They weren't there yet. And so it was kind of like you just had to trust that they were going to bring in some of those cameras and lenses that you were going to use in that particular system. And so, I just kind of doubled down on that aspect of it. And funny enough, Jason, we were talking about our channel and everything. That kind of helped spur my YouTube channel as well, was that whole transition between it, because obviously I'm assuming you yourself, we all sort of pivoted in that direction with Sony cameras and started developing, YouTube content for Sony gear and equipment.
Yeah,
So
absolutely. I mean, like that's sort of like that was my end to the whole YouTube sphere. This is like not even my first YouTube channel. This has been maybe my second or third or even fourth YouTube channel. But if we're talking about the whole landscape of super saturated topics, cameras were super saturated topics, but there wasn't actually anyone who was so niche when it comes to the Sony stuff.
Yes, yeah.
There's definitely more of us out there, but between like me and Danny, we're definitely one of the early folks in it, alongside with like, Manny Ortiz and Francisco and a few other folks out there. Now there's more and more people starting to shoot Sony. So definitely is what helped perpetuate a YouTube channel.
No, it's interesting how that whole transition happened. People were slow to move into the Sony thing, and as soon as they started seeing like A9, A7 III, A7 R3, those cameras start rolling around, boom, everything just kind of happened.
Yeah,
I just see Sonys everywhere. People using them in video production, and I always look at the cameras that people are using. I always see a Sony camera being used somewhere for video. It's crazy.
Let's see here. Rob Kramer says, I had the GH4 as a wonderful camera, just needed better low light. I've never had too much issue with the low light when it comes to it. I mean, there were times when we're shooting weddings, we're just like, man, yeah, it's that ISO 3200 looking pretty spicy right now. But in terms of I think we were using like a lot of we try to use like a lot of fast manual focus lenses, 1.2, to mitigate that. We had to use like Metabones adapters, speed boosters. But yeah, at the end of the day, it wasn't so much for low light for me. It was just rather the photo quality that was coming out of the GH4 that I wasn't a huge fan of.
Something I wanted to also mention with the Panasonic cameras, when you brought up a little bit when you talked about it, was the autofocusing with the camera.
Yeah.
Now, I use adapted glass on the Panasonic, so I was manually focusing effectively because I was using a speed booster. I never really bought into the Micro Four Thirds system lenses because I wasn't sure yet if I wanted to really invest in that direction. So, and I always was doing manual focusing anyway. But when Sony came around, like we mentioned before, with the autofocusing ability and their video aspect of it, it was nice. It was a big game changer, especially with the whole Canon system too, because Canon actually had a really nice system as well with their dual pixel autofocus, but they just didn't have the video. And then with the Panasonic stuff, Jason, remember, they had really nice video, but they didn't have the autofocus. It was weird. It was like Canon, great autofocus. They don't have the video quality. Panasonic, great video. You'll have to manual focus, which is okay for a lot of people. At the time, it was fine. But no autofocus. The autofocus wasn't at that level. And then Sony comes around and they give you a little bit of both worlds. That's how I saw Sony at the time. They kind of gave a little bit of both worlds. You got good image quality, video quality, and you also got decent and pretty good autofocus at the time.
And, just to round us off really quickly, autofocus actually wasn't the biggest priority for me, believe it or not. Like I said, I was just so happy to be able to use my phone, just tap to focus, and the camera automatically works. And that's something I'll always give Panasonic for. It's just really intuitive user experience where I can just load up the image, Wi-Fi it to my phone, and just be able to control that focus is amazing, and control my camera settings. I don't think I ever got Sony to be able to do that for me. It was until I actually started shooting with Sony that I'm just like, oh my God, this autofocus thing is amazing. So it's never like crossed my mind until I used the Sony and just be like, this tracking autofocus is like literally game changer for anyone who's shooting brides walking down the aisle or just tracking a moving subject. I'm just like, and I never realized that my GH4 couldn't do that at the time. I was just like, like whatever, I can just tap the focus, easy, good to go. And again, it's not like, and that's not to say it ended up being a crappy camera. The GH4 is still a great camera.
Right.
GH5 moving on, there's still great cameras. But unfortunately, just for me and Danny, with our use cases, it just makes more sense to swap over to Sony.
Yeah.
We got a super chat donation from Daniel in LA. What's up? Long time. Finally picked up the new FX9. Should I pair it up with the A7R4 or just wait till next month's announcement? Peace. You should just probably wait, to be honest with you.
Yeah, obviously, I'm assuming it's for video, right? So yeah, I would just wait. Not that I know anything, to be honest with you. I'm clueless. So,
let's see
okay.
here. I think there was a comment that got highlighted earlier. PhotoBX says the Sony ecosystem started a lot of YouTube channels or a lot of YouTube careers. True indeed.
Sure. I mean, Digital Rev and Frono's Photo, they were kind of the starting point for a lot.
Jess Rivera Browning. Last I saw, Sony Alpha was top-rated camera for photographers as of 2019.
Yeah,
Very nice.
It's tough. It's tough. It just works for the most part. So they've worked out a lot of their kinks.
See, PhotoBX. I've been shooting the last few videos on my channel with the Sony, and my only thing is the nuclear highlights. It's Sony. It's like Sony loves to punch the whites. If you're shooting no picture profile, I assume that's what's happening. They do tend to be a little bit hot on the roll off. For me, I just kind of like roll it down to like -3 EV, -7 EV. But for the most part, yeah, they are a little bit hot on the highlights, and I kind of mitigate that by underexposing just a tad bit. Coolio. All right, Danny, is there anything else you want to add to this GH6 rumor?
Oh, well, those are the main things. I think so for you in that perspective, and we typically ask this, like, so there's nothing that they could do for you, Jason, in terms of making you want to consider Panasonic. Let's say you're coming from a clean slate and you're looking at the playing field. Would there not be anything that would pique your interest to want to consider going Panasonic in that direction? So would they need to step up the photo aspect of that camera to like a high degree in order for you to want to consider it?
Honestly, I think at that point, it's just really sensor size. There's nothing they can really do about it, but they have answered that issue, right? They made a full frame Panasonic GH5, which was the S1H, S1R, and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So if I really wanted that photo quality, absolutely, I can swap over to the full frame Panasonic side of things. But again, I really feel like they developed those cameras with the video intention in mind. And the folks over at the filmmaking community, the videography community, they want that bigger body. They want all that souped up features, what you would get from like the bigger shoulder cams on that tiny little form factor. So to them, it's definitely well worth the size. But for me, I'm coming in from like the opposite end. I'm coming from like, okay, I want like a smaller camera, and if I have to deal with a bigger sort of almost DSLR size mirrorless camera with a giant fan in the back, that's not something that I want to do. I mean, again, there's a time and place for everything, right? If I did a lot more production work, maybe maybe that might be a more favorable option. But for you and I, we create content on YouTube. I think primarily we create a lot of content on YouTube. Therefore, the Sony just makes a lot more sense.
Yeah. No, I agree.
Awesome possum. Okay. All right, Danny, where should we move on to next?
We're taking a look at a lens next. I don't know if we even mentioned this last time, but I guess we're going to take a look at it now. Okay, so up on Canon rumors, an unknown source is claiming that Canon is actively testing an RF 70-135 f2L USM lens with a very small group of photographers and videographers. The same source claims that this lens will be announced in Q4 of 2020, with IBIS coming on the Canon EOS R6 and R5. It makes sense to leave the IS out of this lens design. Anything to save a bit of size and weight will be welcome. This lens has been previously mentioned, but I caution that both of these reports come from unknown sources. Again, rumors as we're talking about it. But Jason, if this lens could be, let's just say any type of lens, Sony lens, whatever, this particular focal length, 70-135 f2, how are you seeing this particular lens maybe in your kind of workflow?
So I think on the offline, we were kind of mentioning that this is sort of a trend that Canon's continuing, right? We saw the 28-70 f2 that they pumped out, which is like a fatty little lens, kind of missing the 24 on the end of things. But in the trade-off section, you have a faster f-stop, which is kind of, I want to say it's unseen before when it comes to zoom lenses. I might be wrong, but with the 28 to 70 f2. I just felt like that's like the first time I've seen a zoom lens with that fast of an aperture. Now we're not counting APS-C, right? With APS-C, you have the Sigma 18 to 35 f1.8, 50 to 100 f1.8, but those are like for APS-C, designed for APS-C. But in terms of full frame, the fastest I've ever seen was at least 2.8. So for them to come out with a 28 to 70 f2 was like, wow, holy crap. Granted, that's not something that I would personally use. I'm already complaining about the weight of a 24 to 70 G Master f2.8, you know?
Right.
So I feel like from the crowds that we've been talking to, from, you know, some of you guys in the chat, some people do like that, you know, f2, just having that zoom like, you know, faster aperture versatility without carrying a set of prime lens is beneficial for some people out there. So to that, I say with the 70 to 135, it seems like you're losing out on like a chunk of versatility, but you're gaining that with like the f2. So for me, well, the question is to everyone, is this something that you want to see from Sony? Do you want Sony to come out with a 20 to 70 f2? Do you want them to come out with a 70 to 135 f2 at the cost of losing that longer range or the wider range of things? So also, for me, go ahead.
It's like how they see themselves using it. It's important too. If they can chime in, like, especially the 70 to 135, like, how do you expect to use this? Are you going to use it for weddings? Are you going to use it for events? Like, how do you perceive using this type of lens in your particular, like, day-to-day use, if you're going to use it?
I mean, for me, like I said, I probably wouldn't get it for my own personal use. I just don't really, again, my whole channel, there's always been like this common theme, just always saying this lens is big and heavy. You know, if you're gonna be traveling with it, it may not be the right lens for you. But the flip side of things, if you want that versatility, then all the power to you. So me personally, no, but I know there's going to be a group of people out there that's going to be like, yeah, dude, 28 to 70 f2, 70 to 135 f2. I want that f2 and I value that. So Danny, I'll flip it over to you. I mean, like, is this something that might be up your alley?
Yeah, I mean, as far as like looking at this lens setup right now, that they're 28 to 70, they're 70 to 135. These are definitely not first go around lenses. You don't buy this as maybe your first zoom lens. I mean, I would still recommend people to get a 70 to 200, if a 2.8, if you need a more versatile lens. But I was thinking about this particular lens at f2 and how I would potentially use it. I could see it being used in portrait situations if I got back into shooting portraits. And also maybe for indoor sports, it could be like a basketball, volleyball type scenario where I could see using this particular lens. That f2 would just give me the ability to shoot at a higher shutter speed at times, or even crank up my ISO, or keep my ISO low, get a better image quality at the end of the day. So that f2 really can come in handy in that way. But it's tough. I could see the benefit of it, but I also still like the versatility of a 70 to 200. Just having that on the camera, ready to go, and not feeling I'm going to be short, you know, some range using a 70 to 135. So it's kind of a weird mixed bag for me. I can see the benefit of the f2. Definitely would love that in a kit bag at some point, maybe, if I was just going to want to use that particular lens. But it's tough, you know, if you have a 7200, you know, it's a tough thing to give up. So I would primarily be using it for that, Jason, in terms of like indoor sports. So that'd be the only case I'd probably use it. So
absolutely. Okay, let's see. In the comments, Rob Kramer sort of echoing the same thing. He's saying the 70 to 135 is, it's going to be for indoor sports, but he's also saying it's going to be a beast physically. Yeah.
I mean, it's 3,000 US for the 28 to 70 f2. So this one, pretty hefty price tag.
Okay.
So Canon, if you're watching and you know, just drop in some gear on my way and buy Sony, I'm cool. You know, just let me know. Hit me up.
Yeah, Monday Live's coming to an end, so you might as well just buy them off now.
Canon Live. Here we go. Canon Live.
Awesome. Okay, I think that's pretty much it for the comments. Anything else you want to add to this, Danny?
Nah, I mean, I think that was it. It's my only thing I was thinking about is is Canon just going to do 28 to 70, 70 to 135, then a 135 to 200 f2? That would be insane. That would be insane because you know what? Canon makes those 200 f2s. You know what I'm talking about? Those they're just like specialized prime lens. And imagine at the 135 to 200 f2. That'd be great.
That's the funny thing, you know, it's just like we're always like bashing on Sony for not having enough glass. And, you know, they're sort of like the forefront when it comes to mirrorless lenses now, right? But the fact that, you know, that Canon's been in the business for so long with their DSLR setups, it's like, yeah, they have that time, they have that R&D to make whatever, you know, prime lens they want, like you said, at 200 f2. And again, you know, that's an option for some folks out there. If they are ever switching out to the R5 or still sticking with Canon, they can very well adapt that 200 f2 and still get that reach and that faster aperture. That
I feel like Canon's just flexing. Canon's flexing. They just want to let them know. They're just letting everybody know. It's like, hey, we can make some really nice glass. So
yeah,
I think that's what they're doing.
All right. I'm going to blaze through some of these comments right here. Joseph Baker for that super chat donation. Thank you so much for $24.99. Have the A6600 Sigma APS-C trio as well as the Sony 35 Prime. Looking for a research direction on zoom lenses. I plan to upgrade to a full frame mirrorless at some point as my curiosity has turned into a full-blown hobby.
That's how it starts.
Yep. To be honest with you, look into some of the Tamron stuff. They have a full kitted out, you know, 70 to 28, 20 to 75, and 75 to 180. I think in terms of zoom lenses, they're the best bang for your buck. And for me, at least for me, I can attest to the mid range and the wide range. It's really, really good. I mean, there are a little bit of vignetting on the 17 wide end, but for the most part, autofocus feels really similar in terms of video. Photos is still pretty darn good. Quality is amazing. It's sharp. So look into the Tamron trios. If budget, it's not that high of a budget, but at the same time, it's still a really good set of glass. And Danny,
yeah, that'd be the way I look at it. If budget's an issue, Tamron's a great one to look at this point, because it won't break the bank like the Sony first party, but the first party stuff's good too. Yeah. I mean, if you want a nice 70, 200 f2.8, I like mine. So
if you have the money, I mean, we're not saying don't do it, but the Tamron stuff, I mean, image quality is great. Yeah. Focus is great. Overall, lighter lenses to carry around. So at least I'm a fan of it.
Actually, now that you think about it, because he was saying he was going to upgrade to a full frame, but since he has a 6600 body already, you know, the Tamron might be a good inner, you know, mix between, because it's a lightweight lens with his smaller camera body as well. So it just could be a better option going in that direction instead.
So. Absolutely. It's 7:45, Dan. Should we start queuing up for the Q&A?
Yeah, for sure. We can just start getting questions ready. That's cool.
Have your Q&As ready. #QA. Have it ready. We might have you repost them, because if you guys start putting in a chat, it's going to get lost. So if we don't answer them, just feel free to post them again. Really quickly, PhotoMeX saying the R5 and the RF line are upping the Infinity Gems 28 to 70 f2, 15 to 35 f2.8, 51 to 85, 71 35 in one snap. Nikon and Sony disappears.
Yep. That clientele, they got some nice lenses, man. Seriously.
Yeah.
That particular group.
Jay Kirshner, in all honesty, I would just go in with the 70 to 200 f4 because it's so much cheaper and you can just change things in Lightroom. Yeah, I mean, it's a lighter 70 to 200 lens, but again, when you're comparing an f2 to an f4, it's a night and day difference. But if you're only more concerned about the versatility of things, then the 70 to 200 f4 is still a winner in my book. Quippy's channel, I think zooms will and telephoto primes like 85 onward will see a bump in sales with social distancing as a new norm.
That 402.8 of mine might go up in value, Jason. Just might go up just a little bit.
Well, there you go. There you go. Okay. Let's see here. Should we tackle one more topic on the list?
I mean, we could
the fun ones.
The one I wanted to talk about was the 10 things photographers hate hearing people say.
Okay, so let's end off on that for news, and we'll tackle Q&A afterwards.
All right, sounds good. So we it's coming in from F-Stoppers. There was an article they put together. Nice of them to do that. The topic was 10 things photographers hate hearing People say. And I'm going to read off the list and let us know in the comments or in the chat if you've experienced some of these phrases from people. Number 1, you can just Photoshop that out, right? Number 2, can I have the raw files? Number 3, hey, can you bring your camera and just take a few shots? Number 4, can you make everything black and white except the eyes? Number 5, can I have all the photos we didn't pick? Number 6, I have a really nice camera. How much would you charge if you use mine? Number 7, I saw this on Pinterest. Can we try it? Number 8, do you mind if I get some shots too? Number 9, how many megapixels does your camera have? My phone has that many. And finally, wow, you have a really nice camera. It must take great photos, Jason.
I'm so triggered right now. I have to say, Danny, I want to say if we were to put together a bingo sheet, right, and we just have to like mark down what is it that we've heard, I want to say that.
What's one that you've heard for sure?
Funny enough, it's the last one that kind of like echoes in my brain. It's just like, wow, it's not like so much as to wow, you have a nice camera, it must take great photos. It's just more so like, I forgot what the exact words were, but I was shooting a wedding and someone was like, wow, that's a great camera. You know, if I had that or something, my photos would be great too. You know, that kind of deal. I'm just like, okay, thank you, sir.
Just hand, you know, Jason, just hand him the camera and say, you know what, just go at it, just do your thing.
I want to. I just want to be like, whoop, whoop, here you go, buddy. You know, you want to try it out, you know. But funny enough, it was back when I was still shooting Canon, and it was like I think I was holding like a 5D Mark III, so I was just like, yeah.
Oh, okay.
You want to take it? And I'm pretty sure he was absolutely right because my photos at the time was garbage. So I'm just like, hey, you can probably do a very similar job,
right,
with this camera.
There was yeah. I've had situations where I'm on the sideline on a football game, and I have like a 70-200. I think there was a time I had like a 70-200 or the Sigma 120-300, so that really big lens. And they would say things like, oh man, you can shoot the moon with that lens. And I'm looking at their lens. They technically have a 70-300. And in my head, I'm like, both our lenses have the same field of view. I mean, obviously mine will probably look a little nicer, but I mean, you technically have the same reach as I do, you know? So there'd be those times.
It's the perceived value. It's the perceived value. I assume you said 70-200, right? It's this nice looking white lens. And they're just like,
yeah,
wow.
You can have 70. Yeah. You could even, yeah,
and
like
it's longer too.
Right.
It's longer. So
I've seen people with like a 55-250. I'd have a 70-200. Like, oh my god, your lens must be able to reach so far or whatever. And I'm like, your lens, and they have an APS-C camera, so their camera reaches even further than mine. So it'd be really funny. And so I hear that a lot, but I don't know. I do want to hear what people tend to hear a lot. So
I just really want to quickly touch upon one of the points because I know you tell me this a lot on the offline. You're just like. Someone's like, hey, can you bring your camera just to take a few shots? I'm sure that's you said that's happened to you a few times. Am I wrong on this?
You know what? I got to the point where I just bring my camera. That's how it is.
Because you're known as the photo guy, right? You're just like, like you that one camera guy. Bring your camera.
Yeah, that's just bring a camera. The weird thing is, Jason, we talked about this too, was I started hearing things where I would record video of people and they'd say things like, could you remove some of the acne on my face or make me look slimmer in video? And I'm like, I would tell them it's not impossible, but I'm not going to go through the trouble of figuring that out for you. Because I'm not doing that kind of crazy stuff, but
I mean, if you want us to take out your acne and your pimples in a video, you got to hire like Michael Bay's crew. You know, there's this one behind the scenes I vaguely remember where they're just like, yeah, we spent 6 months animating this 6 seconds robot. I was just like, dude, that's like frame by frame work. You could literally have to like frame by frame and Photoshop each of the pimples. That's just too much work.
Let's see. There was definitely like another one that people were saying that let's see. Oh, do you get ones? Well, you shot weddings, right? So were there any occasions where people told you, hey, you can get a good shot over here or move over here. This is probably a better spot.
Oh, dude, all the time. I mean, you always have the Uncle Bob that's just like, I lined them up for you. It's perfect. Just go for it. We're just like, but that's not where they want to stand. You know, but and you know, you don't want to be rude and be like, nah, you know, unless we're pressed on time. But for the most part, we're just like, okay, we snap a photo. It's like, all right, everyone just scoot this way or something, that kind of deal. But yeah, it's I can't say too much. Not like a lot of this quote has happened to me personally, but I'm sure have heard it in some varying degree.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Really quickly, Dave Sincere just dropped a $10 super chat donation for the culture. Love what you two have done and become. Well, thank you, Dave. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dave. We appreciate it. Really do.
Trevor, hashtag not QA. I always hate when you're with your friends and they make you take pictures because you're the photographer. Makes me feel like a dog. I that has never happened to me. I'm sort of like that guy that brings the camera because when we're doing the YouTube stuff, I'm just like, I need photo samples. I'm just like bringing my camera to like birthday parties.
It's all good. It's all good. I'm gonna go in there, test out my 35 f2 or whatever lens that you have.
It's like, yeah, I'll test it out. It's just like, well, why does this lens make me look big? I was like, oh, this is the best lens I brought with me. Compression, sorry, bro. Alex Sandoval says, when they say, hey, can you just bring your camera along and take a couple of pics for me? Makes me mad.
Oh, that's rough.
That is, yeah. Jay Kushner says, I did a quarantine wedding and got a call from the CDC a week later saying I have to go in isolation because someone in the wedding.
Oh no,
that is not a fun story. I was under the impression this was a fun story moment. Oh my god.
Well, that's great.
Jay, hope you're okay, buddy.
Hey, I mean, time to edit photos, right? Am I wrong? I mean, you could edit. That's plenty of time to do some editing. And
yeah, I think they owe you some money for dragging you into that wedding. Jeez. Dave Sincere says, I hate when people always look for me to have my camera. Like I should just bring it to photograph. And earlier you were just saying you haven't touched your camera in like 2.5 months.
You became that one camera guy or girl, whichever, how you want to float with that. But you became that person with the camera. That's just what ends up happening. I'm sure all of you have some sort of story like that at this point. It's good times.
I guess for me, the only thing that I've really sort of get from my friends is just so much as to like, hey, can you come shoot the wedding or something like that? And, we would still throw in the price. But I'm just like, hey, if you don't mind if I shot with a point and shoot camera, I'll shoot your wedding for free.
Oh, wow.
But I did shoot one of my best friend's wedding. I think he didn't really hire me for the gig because I was in the wedding party. But I mean, I still shot his wedding anyway. Granted, it was with a point and shoot. He didn't really ask me, but I did it anyways because I was like, this is fun, just to test out the capabilities of the RX 100. So,
oh, okay.
Again, I'll shoot your wedding for free if you let me test out camera gear.
Travis Morrison McKell 999 says, thank you for all the Monday night live shows. It's been great.
Well, thank you, Travis. For that $9.99 send off. Thank you. Thank you so much.
It's not the end. It's not 100% the end. We're just trying some new things.
Okay, let's get some of the Q&A on the screen. I'll read this last one off first before you take this one off.
I like that message from AB
Positive. When you're at a family gathering with your only 56 prime and they want the whole family shooting the smallest group, and they talk smack when you.
Oh, dude, you tell them go up against the wall. Go up against the wall. Go into the hallway of the room. And you're like standing as far as you can. Tell everyone to suck it in. Turn to their sides.
At this point, I would have been like, I'll take the photo, but then I'll take out the phone, take the photo, and send them that phone photo. I'll just cover my butt that way.
Jason's got some tricks. That's some good ones right there.
I'll send it to you later. I mean that sort of triggers something else in my mind. I remember when I first picked up the camera, my mom asked me to take a photo of her, and it obviously like the background wasn't that great. So when I showed her the photo, and she was like, "You made me look fat. You're a terrible photographer." I was like, "Oh, thanks, Mom. Thanks for crushing my hope and dreams." Well, thank you everyone for sharing your story. And for those of you who are tuning in, wondering if this is the last Monday Live, we'll address that towards the end. Jim Penn says, #AskViv. Jason Vong, how is it a demand for drones and the level of your usage before COVID-19? For drone stuff, we usually sell part of our wedding package. But usually we have someone who has a license, who has a drone that comes with us, who second shoots for us. So they fly the drone anyways, but mainly for weddings, not so much other client gigs or projects. I've actually been using like drone stock footage whenever I do like other client work. Because I'm just like, I don't want to fly the drone. I don't have time for this. And usually they never know. They can't tell. So it's fine. Adrian Hung says, can we have a final live where you see? No. Absolutely not. It's #Q&A. All right, guys, get it right. Vivian, do your job, okay? #Q&A, not #AskViv. Squeezy Bits. Wait, how do I get you guys to come to my wedding? Danny, what's the requirement to have the people grace your presence?
I don't know. I don't know.
Maybe we should do it
unless we're gonna do a review for something, Jason.
Yeah, your wedding has to coincide with some sort of release, maybe the A7S III. That's how you're gonna get me and Danny to come out. I dragged Danny to a wedding that I had to shoot, and he's just like, I think you had a blast, right?
Yeah, I really wanted to shadow Jason for a wedding that he was going to shoot. And I learned a lot from that experience that I never wanted to shoot a wedding ever. So just kidding.
I was like, free labor. Heck yeah, come along.
Nah, it was good times. It was good times getting to learn the process and everything.
It was fun. I had a blast shooting with Danny. I think Danny had some fun too.
Yeah.
Jay Kirshner says 7 III versus the R2. I'm thinking about getting another A7 II as a backup, or just go for the A7 R2 for my.
Oh, we're at a cliffhanger
right there.
We're at a cliffhanger here.
I meant getting another A7 III. Oh, so an R2 versus a 7 III. I would just get another 7 III.
Yeah, just keep it consistent. Makes your life a little bit easier. It's my opinion.
Yeah, unless you really need that 42 megapixel, just keep your workflow consistent. I think that's honestly the best. Unless you can get an A7 R3, I think you can get it roughly the same price as a used one, as the same price as an A7 III. So, Dave Sincere, do you guys still use your macro lenses? I got cabin fever and I've been wanting to get the Sony 90mm macro. I personally, the only macro lens I have is the Sony 30mm f3.5 for the APS-C. I love it a lot, but I haven't been using it. I've been using the Batis 40 for its close focusing, so that's how I've been getting away with my faux macro shots. But everyone that I've talked to who has the 90mm macro, they love it. They swear to God is like the best lens that they've owned. So if that's worth any weight or sense to you, that's the best answer I can give you.
I could have sworn that when I did the review for those macro lenses, the 90mm was really, really good. It was a really good lens. And then Sigma had like a 105 FE or something like that. They had like one that you could use for Sony. It wasn't as
70.
good. 70. There you go. Yeah. The 90 was above. It was a different. It was a really nice lens in terms of all the compatibility and everything. So it's a tough choice.
And Dave, I had that itch too. I definitely had that itch before the whole quarantine happened. I was just like seeking out for a used 90mm macro, but I think I kind of gave up on that. But that's just me though. But again, if that's something that you're looking into, I have friends that swears by that lens. So it's, I don't think they're lying to me. Jonathan throwing a #AskViv. What earpieces are those? Do they work well with live streaming audio? These are the Sony WF-1000 M3s. I really like these more than the AirPods. They sound a lot better. Bluetooth connectivity, great as well. The only issue that I have, it's kind of fallen off my ears. I've been trying out different like ear tips, but they're still kind of like coming off. So you'll see this as like, you'll see me fiddling around with it during the live show. So that's exactly why. Super chat donation coming from Ardash. Will either of you make a full extended review of the 6600? I feel like it's a sleeper of the bunch in the APS-C line and not really talked about. Uh, Probably on my end, I might have something coming out with the 6600, but in my initial first impression, it just didn't really, excited me as much. This is just coming from a very skewed perspective of things. This being a successor to the A6500, yet retains a lot of the same video aspect as the 6500. I just feel like it wasn't worth it for me to get, but it's still a phenomenal camera. It just wasn't the upgrade that everyone was kind of hoping for when it came to upgrading their APS-C cameras. But for sure, as a starting video camera, it is fantastic. And I don't know if
my thing on that 6600 is that I really like that camera. It's just not the right price point, I think, for a lot of people. I think that could be a big kind of a deterring factor with it. But if it was maybe a few $100s lower for people to pick up, I think it's a really great APS-C camera, that 6600. I've really enjoyed it, using it ever since I picked it up. I've really enjoyed having that camera in my bag. Like I was using it all the time. Great camera.
6600, you're saying?
6600. Yeah. As soon as I got my own copy of it, I was using that thing daily. And what's really great was that battery. That battery made such a big deal in terms of not having to worry about a dying battery with the NPF 50s, I believe. Just having that same consistent battery with the full frame stuff. So when I was switching between A9 or A7 R4 or whatever, A6600 wasn't a big deal. I stopped carrying the NPF 50 batteries. So I put away the 6400s, and I just had A6600 and my full frame bodies, and I never had to go back to the other batteries. So it was just, for my case use, it was great.
Yeah. That's just from our personal experience. Yeah. All right. So it's getting to the end of the show. So I'm going to read off this last, that just disappeared. I was going to read out that. I'm so sorry. That comment was on the screen. Just know that we were going to read it out loud. Trevor, this is going to be our last Q&A. Trevor says, so I color graded footage for the first time for my bro's wedding this week. I finally covered some of the color grade every clip, and I noticed some didn't match. What can I do to simplify this? Honestly, that's just all part of the process. For me, and from what I've seen for other people's workflow, is that they try to color balance everything first for every clips before you actually color grade and put that grade on. But yeah, it is a very tedious process. The only thing that I can think of is just to get the exposure and everything right in camera, but there's a lot of finessing you have to do to each individual clips if you just want to, make sure everything stays consistent. That's largely the reason why I try not to do too much color grading or LUTs. It's just a tedious and cumbersome process. I'd rather just have it right in camera. But yeah, the best way is to just color balance everything first, drop in that LUT as an adjustment layer right on the top. Super chat donation, Adrian Hung. Great job as always, and I have enjoyed your live for this season. It's helped pass the time and chilling with the community as well. So for those of you who trickled in towards the end of the show and missed out on our first 15 minutes of why we're sort of making this the last Monday live, Danny and I have just sort of, we have been doing some offline meetings before Monday Live to sort of prep the show. And we found that a lot of the conversations that we're having would make some pretty good podcast topics. And when it comes to doing Monday Live, we're just kind of tired of talking about cameras, and with the whole sort of slowing down in terms of camera news, we just feel like we've been just repeating ourselves a whole lot. So we're trying to go off the air for Monday Live and pursue different types of podcast-like content, talking about other things aside from camera. And we hope to make it fun and hope to make it interesting for a few of you guys out there who enjoy watching this interaction between me and Danny. And we're making that available either on my channel or the Monday Live channel, which I'll probably retitle. So this is definitely the end of the weekly Monday Lives, but in terms of content from me and Danny, we're going to work on something together to keep up with something weekly, hopefully, and maybe do a once a month Monday Live to sort of catch up with everyone and do #NewGear like we've always been doing. And this in turn definitely frees up some of the stress on Danny's end. And from my end, I'm thinking maybe a little bit of a higher production quality if I can at least make a little bit of a promise. But that's what's happening with Monday Live right now.
Well, there you go.
Oh, I just feel like I've been talking for like 15 minutes straight.
It's the end of season finale. Season 2.
Season finale. Six Monday Lives, Danny. 6 Monday Lives, and we're taking it out the air already.
We had a good run, and maybe some other broadcasting company will take over and pick up this, and maybe Netflix will be next. You never know. So,
Yeah, we've been commissioned to do 10 episodes on Netflix, catches on Netflix. Documentary is called Tiger King. But yeah, we love the aspects of just the live chat. We love interacting with you guys, mingling with you guys. So we are definitely going to be doing Monday Lives. The reason why it's more once a month kind of thing is to kind of let the camera news build up and just kind of have more fresh topics to kind of talk about. But it should be fun. And Danny and I will be working on something. So stay tuned for that. Hopefully it happens very, very soon. But we definitely have always owed it to you guys that Monday Live is possible because of the chat and the fans out there.
Hey, I gotta give it. I mean, doing this whole live thing, I learned so much about live streaming for quite a bit of like how all this stuff worked. To be honest, some of the reason why this whole thing started was because I needed to know how to do live streaming, and I think I was like trying to stream on my phone, in the past or whatever it was, and then I wanted to try and figure out how to do like live streaming through OBS and everything like that. So it's been a good run. It's been a fun time. Got to learn a lot and got to meet a lot of fun people.
I have to say, I remember the dumb reason for in order for you to live stream on YouTube was that you have to have a 10,000 subscriber threshold, right? And at the time, me and Danny were under 10,000, but this guy, he was like, yeah, I have the new Samsung phone that allows me to go live. I'm like, Flip, do you do that? I was like, I want that. And I have to like grind my way to like 10,000 subscribers. I'll be like, yeah, what's up now? live right now. So we came a long way for sure. We came a long way.
It was some very interesting times, man. It was such a really fun time to learn about live streaming. And I use this, the stuff that I've learned from this, I use it for my work, for the things that I do. I used to spice up my Zoom meetings. People can't do, some people don't know how. I mean, I can put in a away message, some people don't even know. So it's awesome. It's been so much fun. There were those tough times, that happened and everything like that, but overall it's been a blast. So
cool. All righty. Well, stay tuned. We will be coming back live when things ramp up, but for the most part, expect to hear us on the offline sessions, whatever it may be called. And we'll see you guys.
We're making it sound so morbid. We're not nothing bad's happening. There's maybe yeah, you should have her say something.
Oh, here. Yeah, if she wants to say something.
I just want to say hi. And bye. Where's the camera?
The camera's right there. Jim. Hi. She's been managing all the behind the scenes comments and stuff, and we're taking away from her precious Animal Crossing time. So
no, I play Animal Crossing while I multitask.
You're supposed to be working. Yeah, you're supposed to be managing comments. Bye. How dare you? Now it looks like our production is a scam. Wow.
So that's why those questions disappeared the other time.
That's hilarious. Yeah. Awesome. Cool. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. And peace.
See you later.
See you on the offline.